For the last 880 days between 2021 and 2023, at least one, if not several, probation-run facilities in LA County were found out of compliance with the most basic minimum standards set forth by the state. That's roughly 80% of those 3 years. And when we say in compliance, it should be in air quotes because we know it's 100% of the time non-compliant. And most of the time compliance is just paper compliance. And this year has followed suit with those Padrinos and Barry J. Nydorf oscillating again in and out of compliance with violations related to improper staffing, programming, education access, use of force practices, and at least 10 other categories. And I'm sure you've all seen the headlines of gladiator-style fight clubs orchestrated by staff. The estimated now was $3 billion, now $4 billion child sexual assault lawsuit that is currently pending, Terrence shared about earlier, the ongoing and overzealous deployment of pepper spray, of young people overdosing while trying to self-soothe, while trying to cope in the midst of conditions created by the institution that is responsible for their care and their well-being. And despite the department's repeated failures, their well-documented systematic abuses and culture of corruption, the LA County Board of Supervisors and the county executive office alike continue to choose to pour billions of dollars into the sheriff and probation departments over established alternatives of care like the Department of Youth Development and like Measure J. I hope now with this little bit of grounding, there's so much more to say always, but I hope we have an understanding of the immediacy and the urgency needed to expedite the work that these three and others are engaged in currently. And this is why I'm so excited to be joined by these people today. These folks who are committed to building loving, honest, supportive relationships with young folks who listen to their needs every day, who fight to be in space with them, who receive them when they come home, and who take time to meet their families, their aunties, their guardians, their trusted circle. So with that, we'll open it up. I think it would be helpful in our first question if you want to just do a brief introduction, and then we'll get grounded with some liberation methodology and definitions related to the alternative, because I think each of us hold a separate piece, and as a collective, that is like the whole that we want to achieve. But with the first question, would love to hear what you and or your organization's liberation methodology is and your definition of the alternative that we're talking about today. Does anyone want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Thank you.
I know my people, that's why I stepped up to go first. Hi everyone. Hi. Some familiar faces, some new faces. Thank you for inviting me to be in community with you for this short time that we're going to talk about really important stuff. Lena's introduction to the three of us. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me if you can't. You're part of this conversation, I hope. That's why I'm like scanning the room. Sorry if it makes you uncomfortable, but I'm going to make eye contact. I want you to be in this conversation with us. Okay, my name is Zoe. I use she, her pronouns. I came into this work in my early 20s. So I've been in this work for quite a while. 30 years. I am a person that struggled as a young person, a lot of internal struggles, led to external problems. I'm a person that was outraged when they learned the true history of our country as a young person. Had a hard time reconciling our history with the way that I was taught, the way that I lived. So I'm a person that has continued to seek more knowledge, more growth, more understanding, and I've made mistakes, big mistakes along the way with young people that I also have sought to repair throughout my journey in this work. And I am a person who strongly believes and is developing a liberation practice in my life, in my person, in my relationships, and in my work. It's somewhat new to me because I came at this work in a lot of different ways. And I looked for guidance through education, getting degrees, trying new things. I did social work, I was an attorney, I was an organizer, I worked with movements. Along the way, the consistent practice was young people are suffering. I see the truth of what's happening in our systems and in our institutions and in our world. And I want to find a way to navigate and correct it. And I hit gaps in every way that I tried. I hit the walls. And court, prisons, probation, police were the areas where I could feel that all of the toxicity of our history lived and breathed and was enforced and was normalized. And I could feel it in my heart. So that's been the main place of intervention for me. And what's shifted majorly for me in the last 2 years is that the practice involves my own healing. And it didn't before. So it's changed the game for me. I'm not going to go into how, because I think it's going to unfold in a lot of the other questions, and I want to hear from the other speakers. And but I do think it's important to note that I know the people on this panel. I know where their heart is. I know why they're in the work, and so I can work on liberation with them because I'm in relationship with them. So you're going to hear that power from them themselves.
Good morning, y'all. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Awesome. So my name is Meagan, Domingo, or Meagan, proud member of Gen Z. I am the program manager for Beloved Village. We are fiscally sponsored by Young Women's Freedom Center, so we have about 30 years in the work in liberation of juvenile justice. I was a system-impacted youth, and it's very hard to follow Zoe up with how poised she is. But I'm super happy to be talking about liberation and what we define the alternative is. And you hear a lot of care first, humanity first, but the practical application of what that means is very different than what a lot of system partners, as we call them, are doing, what probation is doing or not doing. DCFS, CPS, these are all entities that we work alongside trying to provide what community first means. And so to us, to me, the alternative is community. Who best to solve these issues than the people who are at the forefront, the people who have faced these issues. The generations that they have seen, their mother go through this, their father go through this, their sisters, their siblings, themselves, their children. We need to be putting those people at the forefront, and that's what the alternative is. Letting people who have gone through these things have some time to heal, have some respite, and allowing us to see through their lens of what the issues are and us following their lead. That's what the alternative, not saying this is what you need. This is what you need jobs, you need these things. Why don't you tell us what kind of jobs? What kind of education do you need adjustments in? What kind of health care? You tell us what's happening, and we're here to try and reform and create policy and hold people with as much humanity and empathy as possible. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning. Thank you to my colleagues here in the movement for everything they shared today about liberation. Sparked a lot of thought and emotion within me as I sat here. My name's Ronaldo Villeda. I go by Ronnie. Pronouns are he, his, him. I am the co-founder and now the director of advocacy for Hoops for Justice. And in many ways, the work found me. This kind of just fell on my lap, you could say. At 17, I was incarcerated. I was arrested in Orange County, California. It was a direct file under Prop 21. And I was facing life plus 7 at 17. I had never been in the system. Wrong place, wrong time, and the trajectory of my life was changed forever. And for me, it's been almost a decade now, right? I turned 27 in about 2 weeks. And as I think about liberation, I've done this work before I even knew what advocacy was. I didn't know what being an advocate was at the age of 17. I didn't understand the concept of the movement at that time because I was incarcerated. But I knew within me there was this deep-rooted fire that would not allow the system to break me. And because of this, I do the work in spite of the system, right? When I was incarcerated, staff would literally look at me and tell me, "You're never going to go home. You're never getting out of here," right? And that's heavy. To be 17 and to be told that your life is over. But I persisted, right, through it. I didn't allow them to get to me. And I understood then what I now see as so important is being able to navigate this system, being able to have my voice heard, right? And because of it, it led to me being able to come home, right? I did the work. There's no way around the work. I had to do the work while I was incarcerated. I had to look at myself. I had to understand everything I had been through. But more importantly, these things allowed me to really comprehend that in order to seek liberation, I must free myself first. And it's led me to this work. I was fortunate and lucky to find the people I did. They crossed my paths when they needed to. I like to say, God sent guardian angels when he needed to, right? When I felt the deepest despair and the most lost, right, in my life. And they've been here throughout my journey. And it's what has informed the work that we do at Hoops for Justice. Because I experienced this system firsthand. I understand the pitfalls of it. I understand the politics of it. And I understand how youth get demonized, right? Because that was once me. And I had to show my humanity in that courtroom. So for me, it's rooted in that. How do we humanize youth? How do we provide direct services that are effective? How do we create continuity of care? And more importantly, how do we create the communities and the microcosms around our youth that we want to see that then create a bigger environment, right, in the movement? And that is what liberation is rooted in for me. And it's something that I strive to do every day. It's something that I strive to live by every day. I falter, I slip, I fall, but I have community there to help me back up.
Well, a lot of what I'm hearing is that our liberation practices are internal. It's a part of our own healing. It's intrinsic to some who don't really have a choice other than to step into the work. And a lot of the alternatives and the mechanisms for accountability are really rooted in community. And I would love to hear more about what each of you are doing to build up the alternative. I know you're all in like different spaces, but it's all connected. So is there someone who wants to begin that share as we explore the landscape in LA County? I think Zoe wants to go.
Kick it off. So the thing that's coming up for me right now, I'll see if I can get to the question too. Well, one is like, the answer doesn't live within one of us, so I can't speak to the full answer. The answer lives amongst us all, and how connected we are, and whether we're connected, and whether we're rooted in, collective liberation, which requires us to be practicing together. Something that's coming up for me that was inspired by Terrence and also Ronnie is that we do see this process unfold for some folks where they become free of their like inner demons, and usually they have guidance. Usually they have an elder that has been through the same process that can kind of like guide them through this process of the way Ronnie named it is like understanding myself, understanding what took place in my life. It started at birth, right? It didn't start when you enter a courtroom. That's a process that we're out of balance in terms of wanting that process to take place within the individuals that we're punishing, shaming, incarcerating, impoverishing, that we have so much intense hatred towards that's embedded in the way that we operate, that we are wholly neglecting. And we are also saying, you need to change. You need to get better. So we're out of balance. The community structures, institutions around them are not budging. They are not changing. They are not reflecting inwardly in their practice. There's reasons why, and it doesn't mean that every single individual in those institutions is against change, but it means institutionally, it's not budging. It's not leaning in favor of the people and their care. It's really, it's frustrating. And so, one thing that comes to mind is that leadership is incredibly important. And it's not leadership as an individual, it's leadership as a collective. And any leader in an institution that wants to build hope, strength, love around young people and their families, they should also be able to name what liberation practice sounds like. That's important. And I don't believe anybody at the head of a law enforcement institution understands that concept. And I think it's hard to find people in government that understand that process. So that's a big deal. So now community is finding each other. We're finding each other. We can name it. We have a common language. So we're going to build it together because we've burnt ourselves out trying to get outside of ourselves to do it. And the harm is so blatant, violent, egregious, racist, classist, patriarchal, For folks who are in a liberation process, they can see and feel that truth every day of their lives. And for folks who are formerly incarcerated or formerly incarcerated, they've experienced it, and they can also get to that truth. So, what that means for me in terms of building the alternative is staying in good relationship with myself and the people who share that common purpose and share that common language, and who are open to entering into that process for themselves and with others. And it cannot be done alone. I couldn't do it alone. We must do it with one another. And we have to pace it so that we stay intact, and the toxicity doesn't seep into us. So we have to stay intact, and we have to be rigorous about it in community. When we show and feel the strength of it ourselves, that's gonna, there's gonna be a huge discrepancy in what the state institutions are showing versus what we are showing. And we need to be more organized and disciplined. And it's really, really hard because we're hustling to fill in all the gaps with all these stories. So we have to reserve time in community for us to demonstrate the rigor, the truth, the honesty, the heart, and the discipline that our state actors are not.
We have about 5 minutes left. So yeah, I'd love to hear from both of you before we end.
I think the process that Beloved is taking, again, is very centered around that human piece. When the three-strike rule was happening, off top, that is a system meant for people to fail. You are talking about expecting perfection from a 14-year-old. And I know y'all have kids who are 14, you've been 14, 15, 16, 17. We're gonna make mistakes. We make mistakes every day. So to institutionalize or institutionally put a policy in place saying 3 strikes and you're done, that is a system meant for youth to fail. Something that we really do a lot of is social bio, which is conceptualizing what has happened to you. This was not, when you're having grown adults tell children, this is your fault, you are a criminal. All of the things on top of being institutionalized with growing, developing brains and expecting these things, that's not going to happen. So we come in and these kids are already believing these things. They believe that they are criminals. They believe that they belong here and that they don't deserve better. And we have to say, baby, this happened before you were born, before your mom was born, before she was born. Generations ago, this system was set up to have you fail. Because how can you have a country established on what it was and expect anything better from that? And so we work on them and just say, all this led to here. And conceptualizing that we make mistakes and it's okay. And that this is not your fault. And that if you work towards improving yourself and to working and loving on yourself, we're going to be with you the whole way. And that's really our very human take on this. We work with them every day. We see outcomes because we all want love and support as human beings. And when you provide that to youth, they will reciprocate. And that's something that System Partners is unable to replicate like community does.
Yeah, what your approach is at Hoops for Justice.
I mean, the approach is rooted in abolition, right? To dismantle the system. And it's a slow-going approach, right? You can't just do it overnight. As much as we would want to make these systems disappear tomorrow, what is the alternative, right? Who is the alternative? And for us at Hoops for Justice, we play but a small piece, right? We play a portion of the role that's needed to create the alternative. And I like to think of it like a puzzle, like a Rubik's Cube that we're trying to solve. But really the alternative is us, right? The very people in this room. All of us, we play a role in creating this alternative, in mobilizing and creating people power, and educating and empowering our communities to become the alternative, to replace this system, right? To dismantle the imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy, right? And for Hoops, for us, you know, we're a small org, but we're a mighty organization. And we're very resourceful. And we do this work because it means something to us. I was once that kid. Someone was there for me, right? Someone poured love into me when I needed it. And for us, it's doing that. It's to recreate the experiences that I was able to have while incarcerated, able to find myself, able to find my purpose, able to find a support system, able to have a reentry plan, able to fulfill that reentry plan, able to come home and stumble and fall and all, right? I re-offended, I went back, but my people were still there, they were still in my corner, and they still loved me in spite of it, right? And they held me accountable. And that's led to the man that sits here today, right? I would be nowhere without my community. And at Hoops for Justice, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be there, we're trying to be consistent, we're trying to show them that they are not their worst mistake, and that does not define them. And ultimately, through the process, helping them self-actualize and become the people that they were always destined to be, but that the system tried to tell them that they weren't. Thank you.
I'm really sad that we're having to wrap up this conversation. Okay, I'm getting word. We're going to do one more question. One of them is about the challenges that we're facing. I know there are many. Ronnie, I see you take a deep breath. There's that option, and then also, so that's like the external challenges that we're facing, and then internally as a movement, what are the roadblocks that perhaps we are putting up ourselves, or harms that we're perpetuating that are inhibiting us from the kind of forward movement that we need right now. I think we have like a few minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So if any one of y'all want to touch briefly, and then I think we should continue this offline. We'll reconvene because this feels important.
So I think, as someone had stated earlier today, that there are $500 million going into incarcerating youth. And I want to ask each and every one of y'all today what $1 million could do for you. What $5,000, $10,000 can change somebody's life. And so when you're talking about a massive system dumping money into something that has high recidivism rates, high rates of youth entering adult systems, into young girls, women, young boys, and young men coming out with more trauma than they went into, my question is, why are we still dumping money into this? If that amount of money could go into community, set up places where people can have their kids watched so they can go to work, stop the demonization of parents. That's something that we touch on a lot. We provide full wraparound services, so our services are open to the parent, guardian, or anyone that youth identifies as being an important person in their life. Our services are open to them as well, because how are we expecting a 17-year-old to pull it together when mom, guardian, whoever is watching them, has faced the same things, and she never got the help she needed. And we're sending this youth back expecting them to make a change when we're saying, Mom, you know, I know this happened, but we're going to work with you too. We're going to pull the whole unit together and pull the whole unit out of the systems that y'all are facing. And that's what makes this innovative. That's what we need, is innovative projects in these communities, because the amount of genius that I come across every day, the amount of talent and just raw advocacy. They might not have the words for it, but they do it day in and day out for themselves and others. If we foster that, this world will be transformational, and it starts with the youth. And so one of our biggest issues is probation and the lack of access that we have to youth. When they say, y'all can't come and do programming that we know is very beneficial, that the youth love to see us because we treat them like human beings, and they say, oh, we don't have enough staffing for y'all to come in, then why are you open? Why are you open if you cannot keep these youth safe? If you cannot give them the programs that you say that you are running? These are not safe environments, and they're not meant for children. They're not meant for anybody. And if it all starts with the youth, if everything starts with the youth, and this is what our start point is like, then we have a lot of work to do as a full society.
Okay, I think that's where we'll pause. But again, I really do. I think reconvening this group of folks to finish the conversation, I'm excited for that. I think there was a lot of wisdom that is yet to be shared by y'all, but so much gratitude, so much appreciation for each of you and for y'all for engaging. Yeah, grateful to walk alongside you, so thank you.